This week, Governor Gavin Newsom is attempting to save his high-speed rail boondoggle project, and he's using a scam to try to fool the public. And of course, the media is letting him get away with it. Coming up, I'll tell you about Newsom's scam this week on the high-speed rail project and what we're doing to cancel the project and refund the money to you. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a state representative representing State Assembly District 75 in the California legislature. This week, Gavin Newsom surprised everyone by holding a stunt press conference, which he's really good at doing, the stunt press conferences. Not really good at getting things done, but stunt press conferences, he's magnificent at it. It's what he knows how to do best, stunts. He held a stunt press conference in the Central Valley, announcing that they were going to lay tracks for the high-speed rail project. Now, those of you who watch this podcast routinely know that I've been railing against, no pun intended, the high-speed rail project. I believe it is a boondoggle. It's only designed to line the pockets of special interests who give campaign contributions to politicians. It's going nowhere, literally. And we ought to cancel the project and return the money to you, the taxpayer. And we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer savings if we cancel this project today. But Newsom is trying to salvage and save and prop up this boondoggle project because he knows that all of his special interest backers that are getting the contracts from this project, they desperately want the money, and they're going to get that money if that project continues. So this week he pulled a fast one, and no one in the media figured it out. We, of course, are going to reveal it on this show. But first, here is what Newsom had to say about his project. This is in Central Valley this week.
Ain't anything like this exist anywhere in the United States of America. You want to be big, you got to be big in big things.
Ain't nothing like this exist anywhere else in America. I will agree with him on that front. We do not have anywhere else in this country, even though there's a lot of corruption and a lot of government inefficiency across the country, we do not have a boondoggle, a wasteful project as bad as high-speed rail in California. Yep, Governor, you're right. On one count, we do not have something as atrociously wasteful and bad as the high-speed rail project anywhere else in the country. Aren't you proud? Of course he is. Of course, he's sitting up there saying, but we're going to get it done.
This is the biggest economy in the United States of America, $3.86 billion. It's about damn time we have a high-speed rail system.
Woo! That's right. We're the biggest economy with the highest cost of living and the most jobs leaving the state at the fastest rate. We have the highest unemployment rate, which is about 35% to 40% higher than the national average. But by golly, we're not done destroying this economy yet. We're number one, but we want to get to number 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy is saying that everything in California will be better if we just have a high-speed rail train to nowhere, costing hundreds of billions of dollars. Again, untethered from reality. Nobody supports this project. When you ask Californians, should we get rid of the high-speed rail project, a majority of Californians, according to all the polling, say that this is a boondoggle, it's going nowhere, it's costing too much, we were lied to, cancel it. And remember, you have been lied to. And yes, it is a boondoggle. There's no denying it. High-speed rail was proposed in 2004, got approved on a bond basis by voters because politicians lied to them. In the early 2000s, they were told that if we just took out $8 billion worth of bonds, that would be the only investment that the taxpayers needed to put into the project, and that the project would be completed by 2022, 2023, and that we would be able to get private financing for the remainder of the cost of the project, which at the time was guesstimated to be about $25 billion, maybe $30 billion. Well, now it's 2025. There's not a single inch of track that has been laid. The project is not $25 billion. It's $138 billion and growing. And of course, they've now scaled back the project so that it's only going to be for phase one, this small little link in Central Valley. Small little link, which nobody's going to travel. And of course, people do not want high-speed rail. We do already have high-speed rail. It's called Southwest Airlines. People can get around quick throughout the state. There's no real market demand or need for this rail project. There is a need for other infrastructure, like water storage and fixing highways and freeways, expanding freeways and highways so we don't have as much congestion. Or here's a better idea. Why don't we just give you your money back? And we're not talking now about that $8 billion. That's gone. That's wasted. I'm talking about tens of billions of dollars collected every year through something called the cap and trade tax. More on that in a minute. And this is how we're going to get money back to you if we cancel this project. So that's Gavin Newsom this week. Well, I wanted to remind you, though, Gavin Newsom's all hat, no cattle. He's all talk. This is what he said all the way back in August 11th of 2010. As mayor of San Francisco at the time, bragging about how this project's going to get done and we're going to be the first and it's going to happen overnight. And by golly, you just watch it.
I am sick and tired of hearing about how wonderful the transportation system is in France and Japan. And have you been to Shanghai? Or
I love how he's saying, I'm sick and tired of hearing about the wonderful things about France and China and Japan, all who have economies that are in the dumps. Okay. All who've had a massive growth in the size of their government and state spending, all who have lower economic productivity and prosperity. And of course, he wants to benchmark against all the best. France. I mean, come on. Anyone wanting to benchmark against France?
Do you know what they're doing in Beijing? Well, finally, California is going to get it right with this new high-speed rail, and that northern terminus will happen here. And this project.
Oh, the northern terminus will happen here in San Francisco. No, buddy, it's not happening. It's going to be somewhere in the middle of Central Valley where no one's using it. And that's if best case scenarios come through, which in government it never does. So let me reveal to you the scam that Newsom pulled this week. Very, very clever. And the media refused to report on it. Let me give you one of the media clips on his press conference from KGET News in Central Valley. You'd think that they would be closest to the project. They would know the most about what's going on. They'd be able to detect the scam quicker. They kind of reference the scam, but don't understand the significance of what Newsom actually announced. Listen in.
We begin tonight with major developments on California's high-speed rail project. Governor Gavin Newsom announcing today that construction on the actual rail line into Kern County will begin in coming months.
There you go. They are going to begin actual laying of rail. I know this project started in like 2008, and we're sitting here, 16, 17 years later. Not a single inch of track has been laid. So his big announcement this week, which was quite a surprise, was we are going to put track down. We are doing it today. It's gonna, you're gonna see a track very soon. The reason why this is significant is because Trump gets sworn into office on January 20th. And the reason why this is significant is that the Trump administration has already said that they're going to cancel high-speed rail funding. They did it already in the previous administration in the 2016 to 2020 term. They canceled high-speed rail funding, but then Biden came in and restored it. And that's been the lifeline that this boondoggle has continued to suck at in order to, continue to pay out the grift, the corruption, the inefficient and wasteful contracts to all these politically connected consultants and special interests. They're relying on the federal money, and they're also taking the cap and trade money from you, the cap and trade tax. They just need to keep the money flowing. And they know that Trump wants to cancel the federal portion of the funding. And Trump can do that with a wave of one pen, wave of a wand in an executive order. But there are two things that are happening in this scam. Number one, Gavin Newsom is trying to get Biden to transfer federal money before he leaves office on January 20th. Now, Trump can stop new money from going to California, but the legal argument is that once federal funding is transferred to a state government and is in their possession, there are all sorts of new legal requirements that kick in to basically snake the money back, to take the money back. Very clever, Gavin. The media doesn't want to report on this as to why the rush, why cram, why the sense of urgency. The second thing is, if Newsom and the California High-Speed Rail Authority can claim that they're already middle way through the project, that they're actually laying rail as part of the project, that also provides additional legal protection against Trump simply using executive orders to get the money back. You see what's going on here? The media does not report on this. We are. We're telling you why Newsom is doing this. What is behind this big announcement, this stunt announcement today? Because, look, every year goes by and they always do a press conference saying, oh, high-speed rail, it's coming soon. This is different. There's a legal impetus, a legal motivator behind this, and that is to try to basically con you out of more of your federal tax dollars. Very clever, Gavin, but we're going to call you out so people know what your scam is all about. But there was a specific sleight of hand that Newsom engaged in on high-speed rail this week. The media reported on it, but didn't understand the significance of it. Maybe you'll figure it out.
17's Jenny Ha was with the governor this afternoon and joins us live from Shafter tonight, where some of those first tracks will be laid down. Jenny, good evening.
Some of those first tracks are going to be laid down at this location in Central Valley. Oh, look at that. There's a crane behind her. And oh, there's some tracks on the ground there. Oh, everyone's real excited. It's a real construction project. Oh, gosh, this thing's getting started. Not quite.
Jim, good evening. This project is all too familiar for us here in the Central Valley, especially Bakersfield, as plans for the train have it running right through our city. Now, Newsom says we are finally in that construction-ready phase. Tracks for the railroad will finally be laid down. And that starts right here in Shafter where I am. Now, basically, a railhead will be built here. That's a temporary track that allows materials to be received.
Oh, hold on a second. What did she just say? Hold on. Back up the turnip cart, because we don't have a choo-choo train. Just got a turnip cart. Back it up. What did she say about railhead and, quote, temporary tracks? I thought you were telling me, Mr. Governor, that we're laying the actual tracks of high-speed rail. No, you are a liar. I mean, that's what he knows how to do the best. Gaslight Gavin. He is a liar. These are not actual tracks for high-speed rail. These are construction tracks to bring material into the region for a future laying of high-speed rail. But the media doesn't understand that. She kind of reveals it, kind of figures out a portion of the scam, but doesn't actually understand how to connect the dots and why, again, this is not high-speed rail. This is slow-speed rail. This is just to get materials to a site with your taxpayer money to keep the money flowing.
And transported, allowing for that permanent track to be built. And right here next to me, this piece of track will be part of that entire process.
So the temporary track is going to be laid so that we can eventually do a permanent track. You understand this? This is mockable. And that's why I'm being so sarcastic. It is mock-worthy. Gavin Newsom is an absolute con artist. And he's trying to say, oh, we're already in the middle of construction, which again has a legally significant status to keep money flowing from the federal government, to make it harder for Trump to snake the money back and save you those funds. So that's what's going on. The media didn't tell you about it, but you heard about it here. Now, we at Reform California are leading the fight to cancel the project. And one of the things I've done as a California state representative is I've introduced a bill called the Cost of Living Reduction Act. And I'll tell you why it relates to high-speed rail. What it basically says is we need to start to reduce the cost of your household expenses, starting with gasoline, with electricity, and natural gas appliances. the energy costs basically in California. Power your car, power your home, power your business. If we can cut the costs there, because there's a lot of regulations that are spiking the costs, a lot of mandates, very costly. If we can start there, it becomes a template for cutting regulations in things like healthcare, all walks of life. So we start with the energy costs and we say, look, at any time when the cost of gas or the cost per kilowatt hour of electricity or per therm of natural gas utilities, anytime that it is 10% or higher than the national cost average for that item, we will suspend all California taxes and fees on that product or service. Because my belief is if you're getting charged more, if price gouging is killing you because you're paying more for your gas or electricity, and of course we know we are here in California, government should not get its piece of the pie. Government should not be able to price gouge at the same time. So if you're paying too much for gas and electricity, then we should suspend all California state taxes and fees so that they don't get a piece of the pie. Well, that not only provides you with immediate savings, but it also cuts the funding for high-speed rail. Because where is high-speed rail's funding coming from in addition to the federal government? It's coming from something called the cap and trade fund, which is applied. This is a tax applied to anything that's carbon-based in society, which means your electricity and your gasoline at the pump. Anything that's carbon-based pays a carbon tax, and that money goes into the carbon climate change fund. And from there, projects, boondoggle projects like high-speed rail get their funding from the state. And that's used to do matching funds for the federal government money that comes out of your federal taxes. So we would cancel high-speed rail in effect by suspending the revenue stream. Buy one, get two free. I always like bills that have multiple impacts, positive impacts. And the thing I like about this proposal I'm making on the Cost of Living Reduction Act is not only does it drive down the cost of your gas and electricity, but it also cancels boondoggle projects like high-speed rail. But it gets better. We would give you an immediate rebate of $2,500 for cost of living rebates. And where would we get that money from? We would get that from canceling high-speed rail and providing any of the money that's on balance in that fund to you in the form of a rebate. It's a 1-2 punch. Cancel the ongoing collection of state taxes and fees on gas and electricity, and then refund previous taxes and fees on gas and electricity in the form of giving you an upfront rebate. I've always said that politicians won't solve a problem until they feel a little of the pain of the problem that they've caused. You take their money away, it's actually your money, but they think it's theirs. You stop them from spending all these taxes and collecting all these taxes, then they might actually start reducing the cost of gas and electricity in California. Look, if you want to help us out, please go to the website reformcalifornia.org. Check out that story on our Cost of Living Reduction Act and share it with your friends. Also, like this video and subscribe to this channel because we need to break through the censorship of the liberal media. Finally, I can't do any of this work. We can't do this show. We can't fight for common sense policies and expose Gavin Newsom's scams like he's doing on the high-speed rail without your support. So go to Reform California and join the fight to restore sanity in our state. Chip in a contribution of any amount at that website at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Representative. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.